Let's just get you details of the flight in Mumbai that was landing at the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj International Airport that sort of was skidded off the runway. It veered off the runway, and to know more details, we have Vishnu joining us. Vishnu, of course, the weather has been really bad as far as Mumbai is concerned. The subway in Andheri has been closed, and now we're hearing of this incident that has taken place just while this plane was trying to land in Mumbai. Flight scare that took place, and this is a flight that was landing in Mumbai at a time when it has been extremely, it's been raining heavily, and there have been a lot of warnings that have been put out, at least by the Met Office. So this was an incoming flight from Kochi that experienced that runway incursion at the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj International Airport, the airport in Mumbai. This was an emergency response that immediately were activated to manage the runway excursion. All passengers and crew members are said to be safe. There are minor damages reported to the airport's primary runway. In order to ensure continuity of operations, the secondary runway has now been activated, and well, safety always remains the highest priority. That is what the airport authorities are saying. But there has been some kind of damage that has been incurred to the runway of the airport in Mumbai because of at the time of landing, this plane kind of skidded off the runway. It kind of veered off the runway, and that is what caused a little bit of a damage to the runway. What really happened to the plane? But we do know that everyone's safe. All the crew members and the passengers on board were, the plane safely landed, and they were all disembarked, and everybody is said to be safe. But this was quite a scare again, and this has taken place during heavy monsoon season in the city of Mumbai. A word of caution that has been sounded off in regard to the kind of rainfall. There's an orange category warning that the Met Office has been putting out. What are the protocols that one follows during the monsoon season, particularly when it is going to be raining heavily, and there is already waterlogging that has been reported? What is the situation on the ground and going forward? Of course, are the questions that are being asked at this point in time, because the Met Office has gone on to say that it is going to continue to rain heavily at least over the course of the next 2 days, about 48 hours. Vishnu joining us to get us the very latest. Vishnu, we're talking about protocols that are followed during a very heavy monsoon season, particularly when there are issues. There are warnings that have been issued by the Met Office beforehand.
What we can see now on our screens, Divya, are the first images of the impact of what we can call a very close call on board an Air India Airbus A320 on a flight from Kozhikode to Mumbai. This took place at 9:27 a.m. this morning. What you see on your screen is the right engine, I believe, and you can see the nacelle of the engine quite badly damaged as a result of it evidently having made contact once the aircraft had what is called a runway excursion. The aircraft was landing in poor weather conditions, heavy rainfall, and it had a runway excursion, which means that it either veered to the right or the left of the runway, or if it couldn't stop in time by the end of the runway itself, then it perhaps crossed the threshold of the runway, went into the soft area. But the fact that there is damage like what you see over here to the nacelle of the aircraft means that a part of the engine did impact the surface, whether it was the tarmac or it was the soft surface on both sides, on either side of the airport, of the runway. The other picture that you have actually shows a clump of grass, and let's shift to the second picture. The second picture shows a clump of grass which is stuck in the back of the engine in the nacelle. If the director can just switch to the next image so that I can talk about that image as well. That image actually shows a clump of grass stuck into the nacelle of the aircraft. We'll get that image up in a little while from now. Now, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj International Airport, Mumbai, has said that there is damage which has taken place to the runway as a result of this particular incident. We do not know about the nature of the damage itself, but we can confirm that this has taken place. There are two pictures. This is the primary image that we can share with you, and in a little while we should be able to give you the second image, which actually shows a clump of grass stuck on the engine nacelle. So that's what we know at this stage, the aircraft landing in poor weather conditions. Divya.
Right, Vishnu, of course, Air India running into more trouble there, and of course, a lot of concern that is being raised in this particular regard. But, this could have really turned fatal. This could have really, take us through what does this really mean when we talk about this excursion? What is that, a runway excursion? What does it really mean?
Important as well. Now that we have it, let's talk about it. It's on our screen. We can see a part of the engine with a clump of grass stuck on it. This is in the rear part of the engine. This sort of indicates that impact was, potentially quite deep when it took place. We do know that the front of the engine, the nacelle in the front, has been damaged. This is the right engine, I can confirm, of either an A320 or an A321, I believe an Airbus A320. And you can see a clump of grass stuck on the side. So the excursion evidently was deep enough for something like this to happen. Essentially, the wing tipped down to have impact with the engine nacelle. How that clump of grass got over there, I do not know. It could be because of the thrust of the jet engines or whatever it was. So this is something that's obviously going to be investigated by the regulator itself. Importantly, as I was mentioning a little while earlier on, the airport itself, Mumbai airport, says that this landing took place in the primary runway and that there has been damage to the runway itself. They've not specified the nature of the damage, and we do not know at this juncture whether there are delays as a result. We do know that the secondary runway was activated, but whether or not the primary runway is up and around, we do not know. Now, in terms of damage, it could be some of the landing lights, the threshold lights, it could be the center line lights, it could be, anything. It could be the verge of the runway itself, going onto the soft surface on either side. We don't have all of the details, but I would suggest that this is an incident which the regulator would look at quite closely.
Right, Vishnu, of course, initial reports, some media outlets are reporting that 3 of the tires were burst, and that perhaps has caused this damage that we are reporting at the moment. Of course, it's very initial, Vishnu. Take us through all that we know so far, and of course, like you have been mentioning, that this could have really been, it could have really gone, even it could have been a lot worse than what it is, because we do know all the crew members and all the passengers on board are safe. They have all disembarked since.
All right, so if we can have shots up on the screen behind me as well, then I can actually talk through those. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves on, just how close it was and whether this was a life-threatening sort of situation. I would term it fairly serious based on what we've seen. Remember, aircraft are fairly resilient. Pilots are well trained. We will have to get into the circumstances of what happened over here. The aircraft was landing in poor weather conditions. We do know that there is a factor called crosswinds, which are often a reason. We do not know the crosswind conditions, if that is the case. But there has been damage to the engine, as I understand it. And let me just walk across over here to the screen. So there are 2 images. This is the first image that we have up on the screen right now, and that actually shows a clump of grass over here. And let us just show our viewers this clump of grass in the first image. And let's move now to the second image, which is much better, which is actually got the nacelle of the engine. So if the PCR can move to the next image, then we can actually show the other damage which has taken place. So can we move to the second image, please? Right. And this over here, and if we can freeze so that we can actually show the damage right over there. Freeze it over here. This actually shows the damage on the side underneath the engine's nacelle. And there are potential impact points further above as well, but this entire area has been damaged. There's actually a break in the surface, in the structure of this engine nacelle itself. Whether there is any significant damage inside the engine, in the turbofan assembly itself, we do not know. But this indicates that the aircraft actually banked to its right after a runway excursion to the extent that there was an impact with the engine nacelle over here. And so I would call that a fairly serious incident which has taken place. So there you have it. We've got a statement from Air India as well, confirming that this has taken place, but it's that statement from Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj International Airport that their response teams were also called in to deal with the situation. There is an element of damage at the airport as well, the runway, I should say, runway 27-9. That's something that we need to look at. The secondary runway was activated. We will try and find out if the primary runway in Mumbai is operational once again. What is the nature of the damage? We don't know. Potentially not very serious, but again, serious enough to have been reported by the airport itself.